Hi, friends. It's Elisa. Welcome back. It's hard to believe I've been doing this every single day for more than 7 months now. Through April rain, Texas heat, through letters filled with laughter, longing, and the everyday, I've read my parents' words line by line, day by day. Even on a 2-week vacation in Florida, I brought the photocopied letters with me, podcasting from the rental car, the beach, wherever I could find a quiet corner. People would sometimes ask if it would be faster without the podcast. But honestly, the podcast isn't what takes the time, it's the reading it. Their handwriting shifts with their moods. Sometimes it's careful, sometimes they're rushed. Sometimes it's leaning or slanted, depending on where they were, what kind of day they'd had, whether they'd been drinking or felt lonely. Reading them means sitting with all of that, feeling them, grieving them. After losing both of my parents, there are days this work feels both beautiful but also brutal. When someone dies, you don't just lose the person, you inherit their stuff. And when they've lived long lives, like my mom did, the sheer amount of it can be overwhelming. I remember that weight, deciding what to keep and what to let go of. And there's so much pain in sorting through a lifetime. Maybe that's part of why I do this, because I don't want my son to ever feel the kind of heaviness that it is to have to go through everything. And how would I know he's even going to read this or anybody else? If I don't read this, who's going to read this? And I want to keep the pieces of their lives that mattered the most to them and to me because it brought me into this world. I want to keep the pieces of their lives that mattered the most intact for him so he can know his grandparents a little bit when he gets a little older. But for you guys that have been following the story and haven't, here's a little recap. Here's the story so far. In April and May of 1971, my dad, Captain Richard Dick Allgood, had just deployed to Vietnam as a rescue helicopter pilot. And my mom, Captain Sarah Allgood, she was working in San Antonio as a nurse in the Air Force and not yet knowing that she was pregnant. She found out about a month after he left. From that moment on, they wrote every day, sometimes twice or even 3 times. Their letters were full of humor, honesty, and an almost electric sense of connection, even across 9,000 miles. By June, my mom had left the Air Force and began adjusting to civilian life and early pregnancy, but on her own. My dad was exhausted from flying missions and being on alert, but he kept writing, tender, provocative, and funny. This is when the ESP began showing up, their way of describing that invisible thread between them. Then there's July 1971. My mom spent the most of it in Miami with her best friend Judy. She saw a Ray Charles concert at the Coconut Grove Playhouse. And the same very night, my dad in Vietnam hosted a party, and they cooked spare ribs, a dish that would later become part of his life in Big Sky. July also introduced names that would stay in my whole life, Bill Cobbs and Jerry Dormany, both of whom became part of my father's story later on, and Myra, who became part of mine. She was my nanny and even lived with us for a long time. Their R&R date was also finally confirmed for September 9th. Now there's August 1971, and by August my mom was about 4.5 months pregnant and feeling me move for the first time. Her letters are some of my favorites. Sharp, funny, honest, full of cravings and courage. She writes about hot dogs with sauerkraut, tie-dyed baby shirts, and friendships that would actually last a lifetime. My dad's letters are also full of fatigue, but also full of wonder. He's holding on through the noise of the war and the quiet of missing home. He's very excited to become a father. In September, after 5 months apart, they finally reunited it for R&R in Hawaii. And for a few days, everything they'd written about came to life. When it ended, My mom wrote from the Hilton Waikiki, heartbroken, but grateful. And then later that month, on September 28th, her friends surprised her with a baby shower, a joyful moment that brought so many people together to celebrate her and the baby on the way, who would be me. And what I love most is that decades later, that same date, September 28th, would become my son Wiley's birthday. I get the chills thinking about it. My mom's surprise baby shower in 1971 and my own son's arrival in 2014, both on the same day. Life really does have its beautiful coincidences or gifts, blessings, whatever you want to call them. In her late September letters, they are among her most vulnerable. She's pregnant, she's lonely, but she's still full of light. Now it's October, 7 months pregnant now. She's back in San Antonio, counting down to my dad's short 2-week leave coming up in November. Their letters are full of numbers. 2 weekends left, 10 letters, a handful of phone calls, all marking time until they finally be face to face again. And you can feel them both stretching to make it through. Still connected by words, still believing in what's waiting on the other side of the distance. Oh boy, this is the work behind the words. And this project takes me about 3 hours a day. I wake up about 4:30 in the morning, I transcribe the letter, I sit with it, and then I get ready to be a mom. I make breakfast, I pack a lunch, then I drive my son to school. Then I go about my day and I do my work and all the other things. And sometimes it feels like a lot. But then I think about how much time they gave to this, how they sat down and wrote by hand every single day, how they gave so much to me, not just in their words, but in the life they built and the love they passed down, the life they gave me. And reading these letters, it feels like a way to give something back to my son, something back to their story, something back to the love they had, and to let their story keep breathing. This is also a story of war. Every I love you in these pages was written with a helicopter sitting on alert somewhere, or in a small apartment half a world away, with a baby kicking under my mom's ribs. It's a love story, but it's also a record of what it means to hold on to hope in a world at war. Now we're stepping into November 1971, just days from the moment they'll finally be together again. For 2 weeks. There won't be any letters for 2 weeks because they'll be living what they've been writing about for 7 long months. And for me, I'll use that same 2-week span to catch up, to start pulling together more photos, transcripts, and some updates for the website. It's a way to breathe for a moment and take stock before we turn the corner toward the final stretch of the year, when I was born, when he will come home eventually, forever. So before we move forward, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for listening, for caring, for walking this story with me. This project isn't just about preserving history. It's about feeling it. It's about grief. It's about love. It's about war, resilience, grit, about honesty. It's about love written in ink and faith held across distance, and what it means to keep going, even when you're tired, one letter at a time. Next up, November 1971. I'm a couple days late, so you'll have a few. Here we go. Thanks again, team. And if you'd like to support this project and help me keep preserving and sharing these letters, you can do that by sharing it with a friend or liking and subscribing wherever you listen. Thanks again for helping me unpack these letters and walking the story with me. It's an honor and a privilege to share them with you.